Utilitarianism is a consequentialist ethical theory that emphasizes the maximization of utility, defined as the greatest happiness or well-being of the greatest number of people. Developed by philosophers such as Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill, utilitarianism proposes that actions should be judged based on their outcomes or consequences, with the aim of promoting the greatest overall happiness or pleasure and minimizing suffering. Here's an overview of the philosophy of utilitarianism and its ethical implications. Principle of utility. The core principle of utilitarianism, known as the principle of utility, holds that the morality of an action is determined by its ability to produce the greatest amount of happiness or pleasure for the greatest number of individuals affected by the action. Utility is typically measured in terms of happiness, well-being, satisfaction, or preference fulfillment. Consequentialist ethics. Utilitarianism is a consequentialist ethical theory, meaning that it evaluates the morality of actions solely based on their consequences. Unlike deontological ethics, which emphasizes moral rules or duties, utilitarianism prioritizes the overall outcomes or results of actions, regardless of the means used to achieve them. Quantitative versus qualitative utilitarianism. Utilitarianism can be distinguished between quantitative and qualitative approaches. Quantitative utilitarianism focuses on maximizing the total amount of happiness or pleasure, regardless of its distribution among individuals. In contrast, qualitative utilitarianism considers the quality of happiness or pleasure, taking into account factors such as intensity, duration, and preference satisfaction. Act versus rule utilitarianism. Utilitarianism can also be divided into act and rule utilitarianism. Act utilitarianism evaluates each individual action based on its consequences, determining the right course of action in each specific situation. Rule utilitarianism, on the other hand, proposes that actions should be guided by general rules or principles that, if universally followed, would maximize overall utility. Ethical implications. Utilitarianism has various ethical implications for moral decision-making and social policy. It advocates for promoting the greatest overall happiness and well-being, which may require prioritizing the needs and interests of the majority over those of the minority. Utilitarianism justifies actions such as redistributive taxation, public healthcare, environmental conservation, and humanitarian aid, as long as they contribute to the greatest overall good. Critiques of utilitarianism. Utilitarianism has been subject to several critiques and objections. Critics argue that it can justify actions that violate individual rights, lead to the exploitation or oppression of minorities, or prioritize short-term pleasures over long-term well-being. Utilitarianism also faces challenges in quantifying and comparing different types of happiness or pleasure, as well as determining whose interests should be considered in moral decision-making. Role of intentions and motives. Critics of utilitarianism argue that it overlooks the role of intentions, motives, and intrinsic values in moral evaluation, focusing solely on outcomes. Critics also contend that utilitarianism may disregard moral integrity, autonomy, and justice in pursuit of utility maximization. Overall, utilitarianism offers a consequentialist framework for evaluating moral actions and social policies based on their ability to promote overall happiness and well-being. While it has significant implications for ethical decision-making, utilitarianism remains a subject of philosophical debate and controversy, with ongoing discussions about its limitations, challenges, and practical implications.